Welcome to the second video for COMM100. This one is also on groups. This time we're going to be talking about styles. And here we go. Well, there are if you want to look in your workbook, this is on page 67, but if you don't have your workbook, don't worry about it. There are actually three kinds of styles that people have when they are in a group. Actually, there are far more than this, but because they're too numerous, in this class, usually just focus on three, which I think can be problematic. There are lots of great roles that people take and great styles and great communication skills people use in groups, but I'm just going to focus on these three to do a little bit of troubleshooting. So the first one that is listed in the workbook is something called dominance. And I know that you have all been in situations where you've been in a group or on a team or just simply know someone who has a very dominant personality. First, I want to caution you. There's a big difference between negative dominance and leadership. Leadership is positive. A take-charge person doesn't mean you're necessarily negatively dominant. So we're not really talking about that. We're more like talking about people who try to bully or manipulate or control a little bit too much. There are a lot of personality characteristics that are associated with this. But just to keep it a little simple, we're going to talk about behaviors. Some of you know people who are outwardly dominant. I'm guessing if we were in the classroom and I said, raise your hand if you know somebody who's dominant, you'd all be going, oh yes, right? You know people who are like this. And they might be people who come across as very aggressive. They could come across as, again, very manipulative or controlling. They just want to manage everything. They want to make all the decisions. And they could also come across as someone who is really, really negative, like even really verbally aggressive, hopefully not physically aggressive, but it could happen. And so that would be very obvious that somebody was very dominant if they were like that. But I want to also caution you about another kind of dominant, manipulative person. You can look up information on this. It's very common for dominant people who are trying to manipulate and get their way to actually be very subtle about it. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing thing when it happens. Someone who could be very positive, smiling all the time, joking around with you, but you can tell they're trying to control the situation and get their way and actually be very dominant. This is a very dangerous kind of personality, and if you know someone like this, mostly you just want to steer clear of them, particularly in an interpersonal relationship. But we're focused on groups right now. Certainly, if you're dealing with a dominant person, there are a lot of ways to handle it, but the best way is to be direct, but not in a negative way. Okay? So in a situation where somebody is trying to control or they're angry or something like that, you can simply very directly say to that person, I can see you're very angry about this right now. I certainly want to talk to you about it, but would rather talk to you when you're calm. That might be a way to handle things. It just depends on what the person is doing. I'm a big advocate of honesty and directness. I'm not a big advocate of doing things behind people's backs. Certainly in a workplace situation, if someone is like this all the time and it's problematic for you, you get into some real serious issues like hostile environments and workplace bullying and things like that. That is not good, and it's not your job to be bullied by somebody else. Please remember that. You don't want to be a whiner either. So the best thing to do is politely confront the person and say, look, the other day when we were at the meeting and you said this, it really bothered me. I'm going to ask you not to do that again. And you hope to get a reasonable, mature response. If you don't, and the problem is perpetual, then it's probably time to tell your boss, or maybe it is your boss, to tell human resources or somebody like that. But again, I would caution you not to do that without telling the person. Simply say something like, this is a problem, I've spoken to you about it several times. If you do it again, I'm afraid I'm going to have to go to human resources. And then if it happens again, you say to the person, look, I've asked you not to do this. I want you to know I'm going to be speaking to human resources. I came very close to doing this one time with somebody I worked with. The behavior stopped finally, but here's Haggis. She wants in on the deal. This is Haggis. She's our 16-year-old cat. And she's lonely, just like I am. Sorry, Haggy. Okay. So dominance is bad. She's persistent, too. All right. Dominance is bad, but you do have recourse if somebody's treating you that way. One of the other things in the book that is listed as a problem with group behavior is also simply a lack of responsibility. I'm sorry. Dan, get back. Get back. Go back. Go back. Life with pets. I would recut the video, but I don't expect it to be any better. You lay down. Okay. Sorry. All right, so you have a person who has a lack of responsibility. I think most of you have seen this type in your group work at school. It might likely be somebody who just plain doesn't show up for meetings. You have no idea what they're doing. They don't respond to your communication. They don't do their job. They don't do what they're supposed to do. It's frustrating for everybody because you never know where this person stands. I would love to tell you that when you get out of school and you get your career type job that you're never going to run into this again because, professionals don't act this way. But that is absolutely not true. I have certainly worked with many people who I thought were quite irresponsible and, showed up late for work and stuff like that. Never got the job done. Most people aren't like that once they get a career and they're serious about moving ahead. But it does happen. And the best thing you can do about it is to just simply confront the person politely, say, hey, what's going on? You never know what's going on in somebody's life. And sorry, I'm trying to push my dog back with my foot. So be polite and be patient, but also be honest. Be respectful, but eventually you might have to say, look, the fact that you're not showing up for the meetings is a real problem for me and the other group members. What's your plan? Because we can't continue like this. In school, I've seen lots of times people just simply kind of cut this person out of the group eventually, and I'm not sure what else to say about it because sometimes I try to contact people like this. They don't respond to me either. So there's not much you can do other than cut them out of the activity. And the third kind of problem that you see sometimes with group members is someone who is just, they're there. They show up for the meetings, but they're just not participative. Now remember, there are a lot of reasons people could be this way. First, you have people who are shy. Maybe they're just really introverted. Second, maybe they're new there and they just don't, they don't know what's going on and they're afraid to say anything. That's understandable. I actually had a student one time who was not a native speaker of English. And she said, when she was in meetings, she had sometimes a little bit of trouble following along. And so, you don't really know what is going on with somebody. But if someone just simply doesn't participate at all, there can be a lot of reasons again, but they might just be too afraid to state how they feel. Maybe they don't really care. That's another possibility. But I find a lot of times that the people are just afraid. Maybe there's a dominant member in the group. They're afraid to go up against that person. Maybe they've been kind of bit one too many times. They're a little jaded. They don't, they want to pull back. I'm sure that's happened to all of you. I know it has happened to me. And the best you can do as a group is to just, whoever is in charge of the group, or maybe one person, talk to the person. Again, honesty is the best policy. We were wondering what was going on with you. We really want your ideas. Be encouraging. We really want your ideas. And even in the meeting, have somebody say, hey, we haven't heard from you yet. What do you think about this? It's possible when you do that, the person will go, it's fine, or it's okay, or yeah, whatever you guys want. Now it's time to say something like this. Well, we really want to know what you want, because your ideas might be better than ours. What are you thinking? And try to get that person to say some things. Try to get the benefit of their wisdom. It's always the best way to do it like that. But you never know. I know that one thing is for sure. Groups are like people. They take on a personality of their own. They are entirely unpredictable, as is my dog trying to walk in front of the camera. And the best policy is, patience. Dan, step back. Patience, honesty, and controlling your own temper and controlling how you act. And also remember this: everything's technological these days. You guys will always be texting with your group members and your teammates and whoever it is. Remember that the things you put in writing, whether it's texting, email, whatever, stay there forever. So what you say to a fellow group member when you're angry, be very careful of that. I have literally seen people have reports that are now part of their permanent record because of something they put in an email rather than just talking it out with that person face to face. It's always a very bad idea. So whatever you do, keep control of your temper. Okay, that's it. More next time. Watch the Dream Team videos.